I'm back for another video. My name is Josh Kasich, and today is my Moonphase review. Now, this is a very interesting anime. It's kind of a romance, comedy slash action. It also can be serious as well. So that's why it's like a very interesting combination because serious comedy and all that. It kind of balances all, and it's really good. And so you have the main character named Kouhei. He's a paranormal photographer because he can't see the paranormal, so he can't see ghosts, demons, or anything of the sort. But when he takes pictures, they appear in the pictures. So it's very weird. And so he starts off with him being in Germany, working for his friend Hiromi, who is works for a publisher company for I think maybe magazines or newspapers, something like that. I can't really remember. It's been a while since I've seen the series. And he's also there with his cousin Seiji. Now his family are powerful in that they can battle ghosts and all this stuff with powers and stuff like that. But one time, while they're there to take pictures of this creepy castle, and Kouhei spots this girl at the top of the castle, and so they decided to go back to the castle, and Kouhei's the only one who can get into the castle because there's a barrier between protecting the castle, and since he has his power essentially. He doesn't have the power that like his family has, but he has this interesting ability. Not only can he see ghosts, he can't see ghosts and all that type of stuff, but they can't affect him at all. So the barrier doesn't affect him. So he can walk just right in without any problems. And so he finds this girl in there named Hazuki, and she's a vampire. And she also has the second personality named Luna that her father put in her to keep her in this castle. So she's trapped in this castle because of her father. But eventually, and so she needs a slave to break the barrier. Now the barrier is run by this spear that also has the power of this guy named this butler type dude of the castle, or the caretaker protecting Hazuki or whatever. So essentially she puts off this cute act to kind of manipulate Kouhei and get him closer, because she needs to bite him in order to make him her slave. And so that's kind of the main part. But so she was about to do that, but then the butler stops this because she can't escape. But then Seiji tries to break in with the powers, and so the butler has to go deal with that. And this gives opportunity for Hazuki to go bite Kouhei, but it turns out Kouhei is the vampire's lover, and so he can't be he can't become a slave by vampires. And this causes a conflict. She's mad at him, and so she shows her real self, and they kind of fight throughout the series, kind of like an old married couple, and then they fall sorry about that. Where was I? So they fight like an old married couple, and they come together. And so now after kind of a battle, Kouhei is able to break the spear in his own volition, not because he was a slave, and Hazuki was able to escape the place. And then she appears in Japan, where Kouhei and all of them actually live, and that's kind of a part dynamic where they've been living together, and they kind of fall in love. They fight like all the time, even after admitting that they love each other and stuff like that. And the family also wants to protect her. And so the main point of this is that her father keeps sending goons after to get Hazuki to come back to the castle. And the reason why is because she has this power to we found out later in the show she has this power that she can actually walk in the sun. She's a day walker and a perfect one, so she doesn't need any powers or anything like that. Like, well, her power is to walk during the day, but she could just sit out in the sun all she wants and it won't burn her whatsoever. But we don't find out that until, like I said, till later, until like kind of the middle of the series. So the first villain is we get introduced to Alfrede, and she's a vampire, but she's not a pureblood vampire. She was a human turned into a vampire by a guy named Count Kinkle, who was working for Hazuki's father. And Alfrede learns that Hazuki is or not Hazuki, that Kouhei is a vampire's lover, and so she eventually bites him so she can be free from Count Kinkle's control. And then there's a huge battle with Count Kinkle, with all of them to protect Hazuki and everyone. And Count Kinkle is also a daywalker, but he's not a perfect one, and that's why I said Hazuki is perfect. The reason why he's a daywalker is because he has the power to manipulate light. So he can turn into look like other people. He can even totally vanish in the light. So that's how he can walk through the daylight, or because he's used his power to kind of disappear while walking through it. So that's why he's a daywalker. But if he walked through the sun without using his powers, he would die. So that's kind of interesting point. But once they defeat Count Kinkle, Alfrede is finally officially free, and she kind of joins the group. And what's even interesting is that so the house that they live in, Seiji and Kouhei and Hazuki, they actually is their grandfather's house, or Kouhei and Seiji's grandfather's house. So, and he's there. He's not, and it's also part of a shop that their grandfather runs, and his name is Ryohei. And he kind of Alfrede and Ryohei kind of fall in love. She looks younger than him, and he looks really like old as a grandfather. She's actually like hundreds of years older than him, so because she's a vampire. So that's kind of a very interesting concept there. But essentially, the next guy they had to fight was a guy named Mario, and Alfrede and what's his name, Ryohei, get captured by him. But Ryo uses this, lights the house on fire while Hazuki and Kouhei already escaped, and this kills Mario. But it's also assumed that it killed Alfrede and him, but it turns out it didn't. They live. Like, none of the main characters die, just the bad guys. And so that's the next part. And so then Kyohei actually gets trained by this another part of the Midou family. And this other part of the Midou family we actually get introduced earlier in the series as well. And there's part of this family is two twin sisters named Hikaru and Kaoru, and they are actually betrothed to Seiji and Kouhei. Hikaru with Seiji, Kaoru is pledged to be, to marry Kouhei. So that's but that's not going to happen. Actually, what actually happens, it doesn't actually happen in the anime. I think it happens in the manga, but I looked this up. Hazuki and Kouhei do get married. And I think Hiromi is actually going to end up with Seiji. I don't know, but that's how I feel it's going to happen, because Hiromi is actually has a thing for Seiji. So, and she also calls him sensei too, but that's kind of weird. But essentially, the reason why Hikaru and Kaoru can actually end up with Seiji and Kouhei is, even though they're part of the family, is because it's a clan type thing. So essentially, you have one ancestor, and as you go down, as the generations go on, the current people in the family, they're not actually related because so that's how they can still technically end up together. So it's kind of like that. That's how it works. But like I said, they're not going to happen. And then you have the sensei. So apparently Kouhei actually does have a power, and he goes there to learn. And then his powers, he has this power that's locked because it's such a powerful power that kind of happens every once in a while family member gets, but no one in the family member is ever able to control it until him, like briefly. But this makes him briefly scared of Hazuki for whatever reason after it's unlocked, but he's able to comb over them. And the final villains, it was Hazuki's half-sister Artemis and two others, Jade, something like that, and Belgus. But I think Jada kills Belgus, and because after they were able to get Hazuki to return back to the castle, but then the family shows up and Hazuki tries to convince Artemis and Belgus to join them, which she kind of does, and this causes Jada, because Jada really wants to serve her father. So yeah, so Jada kills Belgus after because he really wants to serve his master, and since Artemis is Belgus were kind of joining the group, kind of, not fully, but kind of, so he ends up being killed. But then Kouhei shows up after finally getting over the fear, and destroys Jada and saves Hazuki, and then they go back home. Everyone shows up to this one final party. And Seiji finds Artemis after she kind of ran away and brings her here. That's kind of, she needs to learn what love is, like how Hazuki learned to be loved or understand love by this family, and so she's going to get the same treatment so that she can change. And that's kind of the ending part. There is also an OVA, but that was just weird. I'm not going to talk about that. But yeah, that's pretty much everything with the show. It has very interesting characters. It gets very serious with the action, but it has a lot of comedic points. And I really enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the romance between Hazuki and Kouhei. I thought it was funny, but I wish it was definitely developed more. Like, they never actually kissed or whatever throughout the show. They, you have the bite kiss. Well, I forgot to mention this. Hazuki thinks that biting is a kiss. Like, she considers it a kiss, so it's her way of making it moral or whatever mentally. But, and she, does, Kouhei finally, allows her to bite him throughout the show, because, he's the only one that can really, the only one she really should be biting, because obviously he's not going to be turned into a slave, and if she bit anyone else, they're going to turn into a slave. So that's why he, kind of gave in to let her keep biting him. Only when the moon's out, the full moon, because that's when the bloodlust appears, apparently. But yeah, so that's kind of with that. And like I said, that's I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it if you want to kind of expand your genre interest in the anime. And yeah, well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you're new, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified from the next upload. My YouTube channel, website link, my Twitter, my Snapchat, and Instagram are all in the description as always. And thank you. Goodbye.